Going over session T-28, which is a relatively quick one. And we're going to talk about configuring email on a mobile device. I know many of you have done this, but here's the kicker. Many of us tend to be siloed in specific types. Like you're either an iPhone person or you're an Android person. If you're in IT, you got to know how to do both. So this is part of why we talk about it. So if you are very heavily an Android person, you do need to learn how to set up email on an iPhone and vice versa. So the objectives: name possible protocols that can be used to access email accounts and describe the steps to setting those up. Identify the most common major personal email systems that clients may want to use, and name the steps to setting up and configuring personal email accounts through these systems on both iOS and Android, thankfully not Windows. Go. And then lastly, identify some common pitfalls when configuring or establishing email accounts on mobile devices, including security concerns. Hint, hint, it's usually user error. All right. So moving along, adaptability and persistence are our behavioral skills and mindset we want to keep in mind while working through this particular technical session. We talked about adaptability earlier today, but persistence is a really good one. You know, when we get knocked down, we've got to learn to get back up. When we fail at something, we got to try again. That's how we get better. First you fail, then you learn something, then you fail better, you learn a little bit more, then maybe you succeed. If you're succeeding the first time you try something every time, you're not pushing yourself. I tell my son that all the time. If you only do the things you know you can succeed at the first time, you're not challenging yourself, you're not pushing yourself. You're taking the easy path. Persistence steps in when we fail. What do we do at that point? All right. Email protocols. There's three main ones we need to keep in mind. And the logical ports in dealing with those protocols. So first, you have POP3. POP stands for Post Office Protocol. Client Server Protocol. And this is how you receive your emails. So POP3 is how you receive your emails. I think DW had a situation with POP3 here not too long ago. So basically what happens is with POP3, your email device, when you request email, doesn't matter where you're on, if you're on your phone, if you're on your laptop or whatever, you request the email from the main server, it sends it down to you, and it typically does not keep it on the server. Once you've downloaded it, it's on the device that you downloaded it to. And that is how you receive your emails. Logical port this operates on is 110. Do I need to know that? Yes, you do. So POP3 operates off of logical port 110. So if you see 110, you should instantly know that is a email receiving port.
Do you want to specify the port? You should say it's TCP instead of UDP.
We'll get into that when we start talking about TCP, UDP. I don't want to add too much confusion just yet.
Understood.
So we will get there. Next, we have IMAP protocol. Now, similar to POP3, this is a protocol where you're going to be receiving emails from the servers, but this one synchronizes a server. So if I have it on my phone, it's going to be on the computer as well. They're synchronized. If I delete it on my phone, it's going to be deleted on my computer. With POP3, if I delete it on my phone, it could still be on my computer. So it's only being deleted from the individual device you have. So it synchronizes with the servers and it has a little bit better security, a little bit better. The logical port that this operates off of is 143. So POP3 is off of 110. IMAP4 is off of port 143. There's 65,000 logical ports on a computer. Thankfully, A+ only requires that we know about half of them. So it's not too bad. But we do have pneumatics to help you with the important ones. All right. Next email protocol that we need to be aware of is how we send email to people. So the first two is how we get it from the server. This is us sending it out. And this is the, I always remember it as send mail to people. Stands for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, but I always remember it as send mail to people. That's so that way you know it's an outbound port. You're sending it out. It goes out port number 25. Now, depending on the email servers that you utilize in an enterprise setting, you may have to set these yourself. You're gonna have to determine whether you're using POP or whether you're using IMAP and what ports you use, because these aren't the only email ports. There are some that have heightened security on them or encryption. We will talk about those here in a little bit. Questions on these three? All right. Here we go. So, extra security on your emails. There are two different types of security that are typically used. You have SSL, which stands for Secure Sockets Layer, or the more modern version, which is Transport Layer Security. SSL is considered to be a cracked encryption. So it's something that can be bypassed or has been bypassed. But again, some encryption is better than none. So you may have some older systems that'll operate off of SSL, but Transport Layer Security is the replacement for SSL. It is the more modern encryption technology. Now, these operate off of much higher ports than the original ones we talked about, the 110, 143, and 25. So secure POP3 or POP3S operates off of port 995, and that operates with the off of the TCP port. Again, we don't worry about TCP yet. We will get into that when we talk about TCP IP. So that is not next week, but the week after. Secure IMAP or IMAP-S, port 993, and send mail to people operates off of 465 or 587. 465 is going to be your SSL, 587 is your TLS. The higher the port on this, the more recent the technology. And then if you're going to be using encryption on your emails, you have to use something that is called SMIME, which is Secure Multipurpose Internet Mail Extensions. Now, you don't need to get too far in the weeds with SMIME. You just need to have in your notes and associate it in your mind whenever you see SMIME, that means email encryption. That is what they need you to know for A+. SMIME equates to email encryption. You know, if you go further, you have to talk about key exchanges and all that stuff. It's a little bit more complicated than you need to know for A+. Just know that that means encryption. Questions? All right. All right, Exchange servers. So Microsoft itself has probably one of the most popular ones. They have a special type of email server called an Exchange server. Large businesses tend to use them, mid-sized businesses as well. I believe Generation, we also use them. It's basically used so you can access emails, calendars, instant messages, no matter where you're at. As long as you can log into that Exchange server, you can gain access to these particular items. Thankfully, it's pretty easy to set up. Yes, probably. All right. EAS is a protocol used to synchronize the Exchange servers. These tend to be exceedingly frustrating for IT professionals because you have to get your EAS to communicate with customers. If you're doing data exchanges and stuff like that, it's not particularly fun. But it helps you, it's supposed to help you set up and configure network connectivity and create secure email options and data transfers and stuff like that. And it allows you to be able to set up passwords and stuff remotely or wipe or lock remote mobile devices, which is MDM, mobile device management. Yes, Adriel.
Is there a port for the EAS?
EAS? No, that is more of a type of protocols, not necessarily linked to a specific port that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Because it depends on what they're going to be doing. If they're communicating with email, they're going to be dealing with the email ports. So it's a way of interacting with these. Unless something's changed that I'm not aware of, which is possible. Yes, Babukar.
Yeah, I was just trying to go a little bit backwards with the SSL security thing. Like
Yes,
it turns the
security sockets layer?
website, yeah, it turns the website from the HTTP to HTTPS, making it secure.
Yes,
So
well,
the
SSL
HTTP
or
is the one
TLS,
that's unsecure.
depending on the level of encryption they're using. Yes.
Okay, so HTTP is not secured. HTTPS is the
it's-
secure one.
Yeah, it's plain text. It's open. Anybody can see what's transferred or HTTP.
Okay, so with the TLS2 is going to add that S to the HTTPS to the HTTP.
Yeah,
right?
depending on the protocols used by the sites you're visiting.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So setting up an Exchange server is not much different than setting up your normal email if you're doing Outlook or whatnot. You need basic information. You need the Exchange server address. That's for almost, if you have the Exchange server. And then username and password, which is typically all you need if you're setting up a standard one with, Gmail or something like that. You just need your username and password and you're good to go. Exchange servers, you need to know the server address and you need to know the domain name for the account. So those are the main key things for Exchange server: address, username and password, and domain name for the account. Do you need to know that information? Yes, you do. All right. Email on mobile devices. Typically, they come with some built-in ones, especially iOS. They'll give you kind of a list of them. They have some third-party applications. On the Apple iOS, they look typically like this. The built-in email app for Android, you have the one that integrates with cloud, but they tend to push you more towards the Gmail app, which also works on iOS. I think these have become legacy. They do not use these anymore. If I'm not mistaken, Android users out there, please let me know. I think they were moving more towards just going with the Gmail app. And Windows Phone, nobody cares about, so we can ignore those. But they would typically use Outlook. There are other third-party applications you can use. These are just the standard ones. All right. So common email providers, you may be looking at this and laughing because you see AOL up there. That is not a joke. If you go to set up email on your iOS device, if you have one, Yes, they still have AOL as an option, as well as Yahoo Mail. But for the most part, you'll get the Exchange, Gmail, and yes, AOL will show up on there. One that they love to ask about that is not on there is Hotmail. Does anybody know why Hotmail is not on there?
It's with the Microsoft thing now. They
Yeah.
integrated.
Exactly. Merged with Microsoft. They bought it.
So the
So it's now
Hotmail is
considered
like
an
Outlook, right?
Yeah, it's already considered to be part of the Exchange family.
Yes.
And if you have a Hotmail account, do not use it on your resume. I hate to break it to you, but it screams I'm old if you have it on there. And like some of you out there, I'm still clinging to my Hotmail account. I love my Hotmail account. I've had it forever. So do not put Hotmail on your resume. Just set up a Gmail account and use that one on your resume.
Is it the same with AOL?
Yes. Yes, it would be the same with AOL. Yes. So any of these older legacy emails, Yahoo, Hotmail, AOL, set up a newer account on Gmail. If you just use it for job searches, fine. You can still hold on to your other one and not give it up, All right. So common third-party apps that you may see. So here's a list of them. So you got your Yahoos, Gmail has their own. Gosh, there's other secure ones. Proton Mail has their own. Secure has their own. So a lot of companies, like when they start their own mail service, they actually will do individual apps as well if you wish, or you can just integrate them into your onboard email service built into your system already. All right. Manually configuring emails. So if you're going through a enterprise account, your office may not use Gmail. So we may have to set up a standard email. So we talked about the information you need. So first thing you need is the FQDN, or fully qualified domain name, of your POP3 server or IMAP server. So you're gonna need that full web address for it. And FQDN is like when you type in www.google.com, that's the FQDN, fully qualified domain name. You need the FQDN of your SMTP server so it knows how to send mail out. So it needs to know how to receive the mail and it needs to know how to send the mail. And you're going to need the port numbers of both types. Are you just using the standard ports, or are you using the SSL or TLS ports? Which one is your organization want you to use? Because if the port numbers don't line up, they won't be able to communicate effectively and you may not be able to receive email. And then if you are using those secure ports, you need to let it know, is this SSL or is this TLS? So what security types are you using? Or are you using SMIME? Are you using that level of encryption? You need to have that information. So I'm not going to bore you guys too much with this. I encourage you to go through these slides, go through the settings, setting up your email account. If you are an Apple person, learn how it's set up with an Android. If you have a friend who has an Android, see if they'll let you just set up a bogus account and delete it. Get some hands-on practice to it. I think they have, I think we may have a test out lab for this. If so, you're welcome. All right, Babukar.
Yeah, what's the difference with some like enterprise emails? If you want to set them up, let's say you go to iPhone, and then with the type of accounts you get, you use other, and then you type mail.b.b.hosted email.
Yes,
and then that will take you straight to you logging in.
Yeah, so you would have the address of your IMAP or POP server, and then you would have to have the address of your SMTP server. So you have to have both of those for your input and your output. And then your sign in and password gives you the authorization to use them. And then what port numbers you're using so that they know what kind of security protocols you got going on.
Yeah, and they're harder to set up, like compared to Gmail, since they're gonna ask you to put in the IMAP address, the POP address, and all that before you can actually set it up. Like it takes more steps to set it up than the Gmail one,
Yes.
since the Gmail
Well,
one is so
because the
basic.
Gmail ones, they already know the addresses for the IMAP and the SMTP servers. It's already built in.
Okay.
But if you have a small or mid-sized company where you're setting up your own email, it likely wouldn't have that already in its database.
Yeah, you have to put in all the information for it to go through, and if you miss
Correct.
one, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I've been through
And then
that.
you just got to go back, double check your info, make sure it's put in right, and then usually you're good to go at that point.
Mhm. Thank you.
So they go through it on Apple and Android, walk through it step by step. I'm not going to bore you guys with this. Please go back through it, read over it. And if you haven't done it before, practice setting one up. You can always delete it.
Mhm.
All right, Android device, same thing. It's walking through some of the steps really quick. This is a very old version of the Android, obviously. And for the Exchange, again, you're going in there, click next to go on the Exchange account, domain and username and password, Exchange server, all that fun stuff, put it in. Use a secure connection, accept all your SSL certificates, which basically says, I trust who this is. That's all the certificates are basically saying. And then once you're authorized, it'll, test the connection, and then you should start receiving and being able to send emails at that point. Pretty straightforward for the most part. This is one of the easier technical sessions we have, where we kind of cruise through this information. Some of the pitfalls you'll run into, biggest one, username and password. Hands down, biggest problem you'll run into is like, I know this is the password. I've used this password for 25 years for my email. They could have it on caps lock, what have you. Verify username and password. If you forgot it before you configure your email, you can't configure it until it has been corrected on the other side. So you'd have to go to a desktop, get your email password recovered if you can't remember it at all, and then you can come back and finish setting up the device. Know your provider settings. Like, how's your IT department have it set up? What are the port numbers? What's the domain name? All that fun stuff. Make sure all of that is correct. And then if you get some error messages after that, it's not connecting, it's not downloading. It's either the incoming or outgoing server is down. It does happen. Or that the DNS server has quit working. Again, does happen. So at that point, maybe do a restart, see if you can reconnect. Yes, remote white, you do have to agree at the end of setting up, but we do talk about that more in policies and procedures and mobile device management for 1102. So, but great point, Francis. Excellent. All right, with that, optional data that we didn't need to go over, but it wouldn't be a T session if we didn't have some sort of quiz for y'all.
I'm breaking up. I can't see the screen. Oh, wait. Oh no. Oh my gosh. Can you guys hear me?
No worries, we'll
Oh
send you a
my
personal
God.
one. It's a quick and relatively painless one. It should be second nature now. Y'all know a quiz is coming. Let's at least break 20. All right, here we go. Let's get started. Which is the default TCP port number for SMTP? Would be 25. Which email protocol commonly uses port 587? It's kind of a mean question. So SMTP with TLS, transport layer security. All right, which standard is used to encrypt and decrypt email messages on mobile devices? SMIME. SMIME should be synonymous with encryption with regards to email. Question 4, which of the following statements about configuring email access to on a mobile device is true? This one appears to be a tough one. So TCP ports used to configure are usually standard port numbers. Lastly, what information do you need to connect an Android-based tablet to an IMAP account? Username, password, sending and receiving server address. All right, good job, Snape.
Who is that? 'Cause that's a really cool name.
Not sure if they want to call themselves out. Nicely done. Again, I'm not expecting. You what? Your favorite
That's my
character?
favorite character from Harry Potter.
Okay. Obviously, I'm not expecting you to memorize the port numbers right this second, but yes, it is something you need to start working into your study guides. There are more ports to come. We'll be talking about them that you need to know, and you need to kind of have them quickly retrievable in your memory. So definitely want to set up flashcards for some of these port numbers. But now we should be able to name some of the possible protocols: IMAP, SMTP, POP3, used to access email accounts, setting them up, identify some of the most common major personal, email systems, Exchange servers, Gmail, AOL, Yahoo. Who's not in there?
Hotmail.
Hotmail. I promise you, you will see a question like that. And they love picking on Hotmail.
And it's part of the Microsoft Exchange family.
Yes. Well, remember that and you should be fine. Also, identify some of the common pitfalls when configuring emails. It's usually a data entry error, or the servers may be down temporarily. With that, we are at a close with